How are you developers? I hope you're fine. Today we'll be diving into the captivating world of CSS animations. With CSS animations, we can breathe life into our web pages by adding movement, interactivity, and flair to captivate our audience. So let's embark on this journey to learn how to bring our designs to life with style and creativity using CSS animation. If you have been following this course, you are aware before any class, we always pull the resources. So for you to get the resources in this class, you can just go to your GitHub repository that you forked and update your repository, then open it in your VS Code and use the git pull command to pull the latest changes. And if you are new, I'll provide the link to the repository that has the notes so that you can clone it and be at par with us. So without much ado, let's dive into learning CSS animations. So if you pull your changes, if you pull the notes, you'll see there's this folder written 13 animation. That is the file that you are working on today. And here are the notes. So inside that folder, I'll create my HTML file. We call it index.html. Then I'll create my style sheet, call it style.css. Then in my HTML, I'll put my boilerplate like that. Then I'll rename the title to CSS animations. Then I'll provide a link to my style sheet like that. And I'll save my HTML. I'll also open the notes using my Markdown previewer and minimize my Explorer. So here now I have my HTML file, my CSS file, and you can see the HTML file is linked to the CSS file using this line. Then this side I have my notes that we'll be using in this course. So that is it. So let us start learning CSS animations. As you can see in the notes, animations lets you gradually change from one style to another as many times as you want. So let me just create a simple animation here. So I'll create a div inside my body. I'll create a div. I'll give it a class of container like that. Container, I think the spellings are right. Then I'll style that div in the CSS. I'll give that div a height and a width of 200 pixels. Then I'll give it a background color of blurry wood. So that way I will have created a div, set that height and width, and give it a background color. Then now I want to apply the animation in this div. I've said an animation can do anything. You can just change the style of that element that you want to animate. Like this mine, I want to change the color from at different times. So for you to define an animation, you have to use this keyframe rule. So for you to write a keyframe rule, you just write at then keyframe like that. Then name of the keyframe. It's called an identifier. So here you can give any name. So I'll call mine like, since I'm changing colors, I can call it color change, something like that. Then I'll just give it any name. But mine, since I'm to change color, I can call it color change. Then I can say from. This from is a keyword, meaning from this color to this color. Then let me say from background color. Let me put the same color. From blurry wood, I'm to change from that color to background color. Let's say something like tomato. I think that one will be visible. Or let me change a brighter color. I think those are too close. Let me put something like blue so that you can see the difference. So currently my element is in blurry wood, but I want it to change from blurry wood. It will start this is the default style of the element. Now this is my animation. So my animation will start from blurry wood, then it can go to blue. I can just put a different color. It's not a must I put the same color. And you can try even the different color, it will just work. So let's go to the browser and see how this animation will look like. Before you go, the animation will not be displayed because I didn't put it here in the container. So for this animation to have effect, you have to put it in the container. I almost forgot that. You have to write here animation name. So if you want this element to have these animations, you have to define the animation name in the style of that element. So I'll say animation name. I'll call it color change, like that. Then for how long do you want that animation to take? That is animation duration. Let it take just 5 seconds. So I think now it's okay. So let's just go to the browser and see how this animation will be. So if you go to the browser, you can see currently you can see how the container is changing color. You can see now the default color is blurry wood. Then if I try to refresh, you can see it will turn from blurry wood to purple to blue in 5 seconds. So if I want it to be slow, I can just increase the time, the animation, or is it animation duration? I can increase this duration to something like 20 seconds so that it goes a little bit slow. And you can see it starts from blurry wood, then it slowly transitions, it slowly changes the color to blue. You can see how the color is starting to change, and it will change in 20 seconds, it will change to blue. Let me refresh. You can see then it changes to blue. And that is how you do the animation. But you have to keep note that when the animation is finished, the color goes back to its original color. That is the gotcha. If you place an animation and if the animation is over, the color will go back to its original color. And that is how you define animations in CSS. So here you have used the from and to keyword. So let us see how you can use the percentages. So these from and to keywords are one way of defining our animations, but you can also use the percentages. I can say here 0%. Then I can say this something like, let's say 25%. Then I can just duplicate this one for 50, 75 and 100%. So this one will be 50%. This one will be 75%. This one will be 100%. So at 0%, and so the original color is blurry. Let me just start with a different color here. So let's say at 0 I want the color to be red. Then at 25% and the color to be something like red, yellow, then blue, green, then say here something like violet. So you can say I have those 5 colors. Then I'll change the duration to be something like 20 seconds so that it can take a little bit longer. It should not be fast, so that you can see the effect. So one way of defining animations, as you can see, where you're using the keyframes, you can use either the from and to keywords, or you can use this percentages, and this is how you use percentages. So from 0% this happens, from at 25% this happens, at 50%, at 75%, then at 100%. So that is how you can define. That's another way of defining your animations. So let's go to the browser and see how this will look like. So if you go to the browser, you can see that the colors are changing. It started from, you can see how the colors are changing. They are still changing, and you can keep in mind that in animation is not like transitions. In transition you had to like hover or maybe do something. You have to do a state for it to happen. But in animations it just happens. You're not doing anything. It just changes the colors itself. You're not without you doing anything. But after it has finished, it will go back to its original state. So that is after an animation has finished, you see the animation is there. It's changing the colors from different colors. But when it has finished, it will go back to its original color, that was blurry wood. But to make an animation, you cannot only just put colors. You can put any style. Like let us look at how I can move this element from here to down here, then back to the end to move this element in that motion. So let me just put my animation a little bit complex by adding the movements. So I want to add movement using the top, left, and right values. So for me to use those values, if you can remember when you're talking about positions, you said by default any element has a position of static. So if an element has a position of static, you can't use those values. So for me to use the top, left values, I have to change this element to have a position of relative, like that. So once the position is relative, now I can change the values of the top and the left. So at 0, I want the top value to be 0 pixels and the left value also to be 0 pixels. That means the element will be where it is, exactly where it is, there at the left. Then at 25 pixels, I want to move the element slightly from the left. So I'll put the left value to have something like 500 pixels. So it will move 500 pixels away from the left side. So it will go to the right by 500 pixels. Then the value of the top will still remain 0. So it will only move to the left, but it will be at the top at 25%. Then at 50%, I want it was here, it has now come here, now I want to go down. So it will maintain the same left value, but I want to increase the value of the top. So the value of the left will still be 500 pixels, but I want to increase the value of the top value so that it can go down. So I have to put top something like, let me also put top 500 pixels for it to go down. Yeah, I think that is it for 50%. Then for 75%, it's now here, so I want to move it somewhere here. So I'll maintain the value of the top, but I'll remove the value of the left. So let me just copy this, or I can just write it, and the value of the left to be now 0 pixels. Then the value of the top to still maintain to 500 pixels. Then at 100, and it was here, it has come here, now it is here, and then it went here. Now I don't want to run it at the top, so I'll stack it at the middle. So at the middle is somewhere like top to 50. Then bottom, not bottom, then left also to 50. I think that will have a transition. So I'll just go to the browser and confirm how that element will move. I think I put the positions right, so I'll just confirm in the browser. So if you got the browser, you can see now my element is at the top. Let me just refresh. It's there. So you can see now the element has moved 500 pixels from the left. That was at 25%. Then it will move 500 pixels from the top, and the left value will be maintained. Then it will move to there. Then it will come here at the middle because I put to 50 top and to 50 bottom. Then that is the end of the animation. So it will go back to its initial state. And that is how you can make an animation using different values. Like I said earlier, you can use even more complex animation. You can combine the transformations there, and yeah, that way you can see the animation will be even more complex. So let's continue learning about the properties you can use in animation. I think now you have a rough idea of how you can make an animation. So by now you think you have learned the animation name and the animation duration. So let's look at other properties that you can add to animations to make it even more better. So that is how you define your animation using the keyframes and the name of the animation. Then you put your styles there. You can use the from or to keyword, or you can use these percentages values. Then for the animation to apply in your element, you have to put this animation name and put the same name in your keyframe. Put the same name there. Then you have to define the time that the animation should take. So you have to put this animation duration and put a value in seconds. So now you know about the animation name and duration. Let us look about how if you want your animation to delay. You can see in the notes, the next thing is to delay an animation. So if you want but I didn't tell you, if you don't put this animation duration, it will be 0 seconds by default. So that means that the animation will not be there. It will not occur because the time will be 0 seconds. So you have to put this animation duration for you to see that animation you have created, and you have to put a time that is a little bit longer depending on how you want it to be. Like mine, I put 20 seconds because I wanted it to be slowly. If I could put 4 seconds, it will be a little bit fast, and that is not what I wanted. So the next thing is, if you want to delay an animation, you can use the animation delay property. So if you want to delay animation, you can use this animation delay property. And for you to use this animation delay, just write the animation delay, and you can put the number of time. At what time do you want the animation to delay? You can put the value in seconds, like that, 2 seconds. So now if I go to the browser, my animation will delay in 2 seconds before it starts. So let me save this code and let's go to the browser and see how that is. You can see when I go to the browser, let me refresh. You can see the animation is not starting immediately. It has taken some time before it starts, and that is because of the delay property. So if you put animation delay and you put a value, the animation will take that time before it starts. So that way you can delay animation to not start immediately when someone just opens the page. The animation starts immediately. So if you want your animation to delay, you can use the animation delay property and use a specific value to delay the animation. Like we said, after the animation is over, it will return to its original state. This was the original state. Also, let me inspect. You can, in animation delay, you can put even negative values. Where is that animation delay? Here, you can put negative value. And if you put negative values, the, what is it called? The effect will be like, it will be fast forward. It will start as if it is, it will behave like as if it was already playing. So let me put something like negative, say negative 5 seconds. Then let me click away. I think I have to refresh this for it to take effect. And if I refresh, this one goes away. So let me just go and change the animation delay property in the VS Code. So here in Visual Studio Code, let us change this animation delay to something like negative 5 seconds, because I saw in the developer options it was not responding, because I had to refresh for the animation to start again. So let me change it here. Then let's go to the browser and see how this has effect. So if you go to the browser, you can see that the animation is acting as if it was already continuing. The animation is starting here already. So you can see how fast that animation is. It's not behaving like the usual animation. It's like fast forwarding. Let me refresh and see. If I refresh, you can see this will jump faster to somewhere here, because the delay is negative 5. You have seen how it has gone quickly. I didn't even see how that went from here to here, because the delay is negative 5. So in short, if you put a negative value, it does the opposite of delay. So if you put a positive value, it delays the animation. But if you put a negative value, it fastens the animation. So the animation will start a little bit quicker. It will be quick to start. And that is if you put negative value in the animation delay property. So let us look at the other property. The other property, you see, but now, when you set our animation, you can see it just goes once, then it stops. But what if you want the animation to go like several rounds? How can you do that? Now let us look at the next property and see how we can do that. So if you want your animation to repeat for a certain number of times, you can use this property. It's called animation iterate count. Animation iteration count. Animation iteration count. So this count defines how many times your animation will play. So if I put something like 3, then I save, the animation will repeat thrice. And there's this value called infinite. So if I put something like infinite, then the animation will continue and it will never stop. So let us try with this 3 value first. Then let us go to the browser and see how that. Now if the animation iteration count is 3, that means that our animation will repeat 3 times. So it will go for the first round. Let me just remove this delay, because you've already seen how the delay works. I'll just comment it out. So let's go to the browser and see how this animation iteration count has effect. So if you go to the browser, you can see that our animation has now started. You can see it's going. That's the first time. I think it will take a little bit longer. I could have reduced the duration, because 20 seconds times 3, that is almost 1 minute. So I think that is too much. I had to, maybe I could have just reduced the time. But you have seen that is the first round, it has finished. Then it's going for the second round. It's going for the second round. Then it will go for the third round. And as I said before, you can put the value to be infinite. And if you put the value to be infinite, the animation will continue without stopping. It will continue infinitely. And that is, you see, that is the second round has finished, and it's going the third round. Yeah, and that is how you can set the animation to repeat using the animation iterate count. But if you want it to continue forever, you can put the value to be infinite. And I think you can just try that at your machine and see how the infinite works. So you have seen now it has gone 3 times and the iteration is over, so it will go back to its original state. But if you want the animation to continue for too much time, you can put the value to be infinite. So that is your assignment. You can try that in your machine. Now let us look at the next element, that is direction of the animation. So let us look at that property. So allow me to reduce this time here. Let me just put something like 4 seconds for the animation to not take a little bit long. I think 5 seconds is standard. Let me just put 5 seconds, because I don't want the animation, when you go to the browser, I want it to be a little bit quicker. So let us see, this next thing is how the direction of the animation. Now, by default, so for you to set the animation direction, you can use this animation direction property. Animation direction property here. So the default one is normal. This is the default direction, and by normal, you can see our animation goes forward. By forward, I mean it starts from 0, then 25, then 50, then 75, then 100. That is what I mean by forward. And if you set it to reverse, it will start from 100. So it will start from 100, then 75, then 50, then 25, then 0. That is the reverse. And there's another one called alternate. Alternate, it will play forward, then backwards. So it will start 0, 25, 50, 75, then 100, then it will go 100, 75, 50, 25, 50, like that. So it will go forwards, then backwards. Then there's this called alternate reverse. So it will start with 100, 75, 50, 25, 0, then it will start 0, 25, like that. So let's see how those happens. So I think forward is the default one, so I'll not put forward. This normal is the default one. So if I put normal, that's the default one. There you have seen it a lot of times. So I'll put something like reverse. So let's go to the browser and see reverse. So I've said reverse, it will start from down going up. So it will start from background color violet, then top 25. So it will start at the middle, then it will go at 75. At 75, the color will be green. I think you get the gist. So that is how it will be. So let's go to the browser and confirm that. So if you go to the browser, let me just refresh it. You can see it started from at the middle, then now it's going in the opposite direction. It was going this side now, but you can see how it is going the opposite direction. It's going the opposite direction. You can see it's starting from 100. 100 was at the middle, then goes to 75 here. That is how the reverse works. So if I put something like that is the reverse. So the normal one is going forward, the reverse is going the opposite direction. Then for alternate, it will go reverse, then forward. Then alternate will go forward, then reverse. Then alternate reverse will go reverse, then forward. So you can just test those different values and see how that animation can be. So let's look at the next property, that is the speed of the curve of the animation. So if you want to specify the speed of the curve of the animation, I think these ones we looked at them at when talking about transition. We said look at something called transition timing function. Where is it? Transition timing function. And we looked at this when we're talking about transition. We talked about the transition timing function, and we set it to ease, linear, ease out, and look at all those values and how we can change them. So in animations, there's the same thing, but in animation it's called animation timing function, like that. Instead of transition, right? Just animation, like that. So in animation timing function, you can take different value, but the default one is this one called ease. Ease is the default one, and ease, it will start slowly, then fast, then slowly. That is the default one, and that is how it has been. But you can change to linear, ease in, ease out, or cubic Bezier. So let's go to the browser and see how you can set those different values. So if you go to the browser, let me just run the animation by refreshing. You can see it's going. That is the normal way. That is the default one. It's called ease. But if I inspect, I think I showed you this thing when learning about transitions. I think I showed you this. It's here, the developer options. You can see this thing, this one here. So this box is how you can specify how your animation will be. Let me just zoom it in a little bit. Then click it here. So this is the box that I was talking about. Or I can just make it huge. Can't be huge on the back, so I'll just keep it like that. So this is the box that I was talking about. So this one is ease. You can see ease starts slowly, then fast, then ends slowly. This one is linear. You can see it's written here linear. Just because you can see this is the motion, how the animation will take place. You can see the motion is shown in this animation here. This is the ease in, ease out. You can see how it is moving. Ease in, ease out. This one is the fast out, linear in. You can see it. But also this one is the ease out. Also there's this one called cubic Bezier. So in cubic Bezier, you can just play with this curve and place it anyhow, any direction you want. Maybe I just place it something like there. So you can see how that goes. It goes from slowly then faster. So if that is the speed I want for my animation, the speed of the curve for the animation, I can just copy this function and keep this function as the value of the animation timing function. So I think we did these ones in the transition, so I'll not explain too much about it, but they are also there in animation, but in animation they're called animation timing function. So you can select any any behavior that you want, and you can see it in your animation how that will be. So that is it with the animation timing function. So the next thing that you learn is called the fill. You can also specify the fill model for an animation, the fill mode. So let's see how you can specify the fill mode for an animation. So I told you, when you set an animation, it will move. The animation will play. Then after the animation has finished playing, it will run back to its original state there it was before the animation started. And that is the default behavior of the animation. But if you want to override that behavior, you can override it using the animation fill mode property. Animation fill mode property. So this animation fill mode property, if I put it to forward, you can see the values are there in the notes. So the default one is none. None means that the animation will not apply any styling to the element before or after it's executing. So this is the default behavior of the animation. If it starts running and if it ends, it will go back to its original state. But if you want to change that direction, if you want to change that behavior, you can use either the forward, backward, or both values for the animation fill mode. So if you use forward, the animation will retain the style value set by the last keyframe. And if you see in my keyframes, the last keyframe is this one for 100%. So you can see the last keyframe is that the background color has to be violet, then the top value will be 50 to 50, the left will be 50%. So if I run my animation and if it runs to completion, it will stop at the last, after it has finished playing, it will have these styles. So you can see now I'll have overridden the default behavior. So by default, the animation after it has finished playing, it always takes the initial styles that it had before the animation took effect. But now I want to override that behavior by using this animation fill mode property. So now when my animation is over, I want it to take these styles instead of taking the original styles. That the original style was a background color of blurry wood, but now I want it, after the animation is over, and the background color to be violet, and also the position to be the one that I've set there in the 100%. So let's see this in the browser. So if I go to the browser, you can see now my animation has started. It's going. That is the second iteration. What is the second iteration? Now that is the last iteration. Then you can see now it has stopped there. Why it's supposed? Let me just check the code. Oh, we set the direction to be reversed. That's why it is setting the 0, because the last, you have said if you set the autofill to be forward, the last keyframe to be applied is the one that will retain. So since our direction is reversed, the last keyframe to be applied will be that for 0. But if I turn off this, you can see it will come here at the middle, and this is the one for the 100. I think you have understood that. The animation fill mode overrides the default behavior of the animation. So I said by default, an animation, after it has finished its thing, it will go back to the original position where it was. That was blurry wood and it was here. But now I have overridden that by using this animation fill mode, and I set it to forward. And I said when you set the animation to forward, it will retain the values that is set by the last keyframe. And the last keyframe was the 100%. And the 100% we set it to be a color of violet and to be 50 pixels from the top. You can see from the top there's some space, that is to 50 pixels, and from the left to be to 50 pixels. And that is why after our animation has finished, our container is here, and that's that color, because this is the last keyframe that was set. But initially you see that it was red because we put this reverse. And when you're talking about the reverse, you say that when it is reverse, the animation runs in reverse order. So when I put this reverse, you can see it's red because red is for the 0%. We said when it is reverse, it starts from 100, 75, 50, 25, then 0. It goes in the reverse order. So if it is reverse, it will be here and it will be color red, because that will be the last keyframe that is set. So if you can use this animation fill mode to override the default behavior of animations, and I think that is okay. So this one is for the forwards. So for the backwards, it is just the same thing, but this one will be set to the last keyframe that was applied. Then if you put both, it will put both the first and the last in different directions. So that is how you can use the animation fill mode. You can just test with the backwards and the both values and see how that will have effect. That is how we do it with the forwards. So let's go to the browser and see if there's anything else that you can there remaining to be learned. So the next thing that we're supposed to learn is this called animation shorthand property. So you have seen here we defined our animation using these properties. There are 6 properties that we used. I think there are 7 properties. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The 7 properties we used to define our animation. But the good news is you can just use only one property called the animation property. And this animation property, you can set all the 7 properties at once using just one property. So let's see how that is. You can see if I just search animation in my VS Code, it tells me what to write there. So the first value is the animation name. The animation name, mine was color change. I don't know what yours was. Mine was color change like that. Then I can press tab to go to the next one. The duration will be 5 seconds. Then I'll press tab to go to the next one. The timing function was is. I'll just write here is. And go to the next. The delay was -5, but let me just put delay 2 seconds because I need to delay. I don't need to fast forward, so I'll just put delay 2 seconds. Then the iteration count was 3, so I'll just write there 3. The direction was reverse, but I want mine to be normal. Just put a normal direction. Then the fill mode is forward, so I'll just put the fill mode to be forwards like that. So you can see now I have defined. Let me just uncomment this, then comment all of these ones. So I've seen I've defined all these 6 properties using just one property. So instead of using 7 lines, I just use just 1 line to do all the work. So let's go to the browser and you can see that our animation will still be working, but now I've just done all of them using just one property. So let us go to the browser and see if that is true. Let me refresh. So if you go to the browser, you can see our animation has started here. It delayed for 2 seconds, then it has gone in the normal direction, that is forward, the normal flow. So I didn't put reverse, I put the normal flow. You can see that is the 3rd round, that is the last round it has gone. Then it has stopped there. It has stopped because we put the animation fill mode to be forwards, and we said if the animation fill mode is forward, it will stop at the last keyframe. And ours was 100%, and 100% was color violet and 25 pixels and 5 pixels. We already talked about that. So you have seen how you can put all those properties at once just using one property. And that is it with the animation. You can make your animation to be more complex by adding some things like transitions and transformations. You can say while the element is moving, I want it to maybe rotate and something like that. So let me just put that for rotate to show you how you can do that. So I can add a transform in my animation. Let's say I can say transform, maybe rotate, and it to rotate. But since it's starting, let me say rotate at 0 degrees. That is the initial one. And let me just copy this one. Then at 25 degrees, I want it to rotate something like 90 degrees. 90. Then at 50%, it rotates something like 180 degrees. 180, I think 180 is fine. 180. At 75 degrees, 180 plus 90, I think that is 270. Then at 100 degrees, and it rotates 360 degrees. So let's go to the browser. Let me save this code first. Let's go to the browser and see how this animation will be improved a little bit better. So let's go to the browser and see how that will be. So if you go to the browser, you can see that my animation is working. So the element is moving as it is rotating, because I put the transform to rotate a certain angle to different places. So you can see how that animation is be. So the element is moving while it's rotating, and that is better. So you can just apply even more complex animations. You can just use the properties that we learned. You can make it to maybe to rotate as it is scaling. You can make even better transformations and better animations. So that is it for today's video, guys. See you in the next video. Peace out.